So let's talk about what that looks like because, especially for divorced men, I've been divorced 2.5 years, and I'm sure it's a cliche that's actually true. Most divorced men, we just hop right on the dating apps and we're like a kid in a candy store. We see just millions of women. So we start swiping. I guess sometimes we're messaging to start out. What's the biggest mistake you're seeing out of the gates from men, especially that have been out of the game for 20 years?
Well, before we get to banter, I really see a huge problem a lot of the time with profiles, the way men are presenting themselves with their profiles, especially divorced men, because they're not aware because, and that's okay because they haven't been in the dating game for a long time. So the first thing is you have to have a decent profile. If you don't, obviously you're going to get way less swipes. But if you have a crappy profile, but she still is like, I'll give him a chance, and then you're really charismatic or really fun and clever, then your profile loses a little importance, so that can go by the wayside. However, in order to get matches, generally, you have to start out with a good profile. Then you can put your banter skills into use because that's when you're going to get matches is when you have that good profile. So a lot of the mistakes that I'm seeing in profiles are, well, it's kind of endless, but one would be men using a headshot from their work. So they're in like a suit and it's a really posed, awkward photo that they might use on LinkedIn, maybe. Sometimes that photo is very dated and you can tell it's dated, but they think, well, it's me in a suit and I look like I have a job, so it doesn't matter if it's dated or not. And so that's a big one I see constantly. It's much more, women want to see a man in a suit, even if that's not your everyday look, but to show her what you can look like, at your, on, at a wedding or, this, your Sunday best. If you can show her that, that's great, but you don't want to do it in that weird, formal, robotic, I have a job in an office way. You want to be in a suit somewhere social or somewhere attractive, like, if it is a wedding, there's a pretty background, or you are at work, but it's more of a casual situation at work. Maybe you're hanging at your desk and someone grabbed a picture of you and you just happen to look debonair that day because you had to wear a suit because there was a big meeting or something like that. But you don't want to use headshots. Another mistake guys make is they think, oh, I need pictures, I'll hire a photographer. And I applaud the effort, but that comes across similar to the headshots where it's very posed and it's not natural and it feels like you're trying way too hard. So there's a balance between trying too hard and not trying at all. You want to be right in the middle, and you want to basically try hard and not look like you tried hard.
Yeah.
And that's like this kind of little magic zone that is tough to get, but you can get it. So if you do hire a photographer, which there are now photographers that are specifically working just for dating apps. If you hire them, and I have like an issue with a lot of them because I make profiles for men and I see the photos they get and they're all staged. They're way too professional, but the biggest issue I have with the hiring a photographer is that you're alone in every single photo. And it looks like, you hired this person to make you look like a J.C. Penney catalog guy. And you're like, now I'm by the water and here's my hand to my chin. And now I'm, showing off my chess skills, or it's just like, but you're playing alone, like you're sitting at the table alone. So I always tell guys that I work with, if you are going to hire a photographer and I make over your profile, or if I don't even make over your profile, ask the photographer if you can bring along two friends and use, or three friends or a family member, and have that photographer implement them into the photos with you. So you're not a one man island, because women want to see who you associate with, what your world is. If they're with you, who are they going to be hanging around? And so women want that information, and men aren't really giving it to them because they're so stuck on, well, I need photos from a photographer, and yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think people do it like you said. There is probably a very minority that are trying a little too hard, but most women, I'm sure, are complaining that this guy's taking a picture in the bathroom or he's holding a fish. I have a question.
Well, yeah,
when you
those are main. Yeah, those are the main also go-tos in terms of issues for guys. And I saw something recently that said, like, I wish I was a fish so a man would hold me, or something like that.
You mentioned the pictures with other people, and I've come across this where you'd see three people, and I'm like, I don't even know which one she is. Or the kind of thing where you have the ex, maybe, or another woman cut off. You see that a lot. So what's the fine line of, like, you want other people in there, but we want to know it's you and not half of your ex's head cut off?
Right. Do you mind if I just pause for 1 second? My dog is scratching at my door.
Yeah.
And he won't stop until.
Cool.
Okay, so that can definitely be an issue. The crossing out of heads, not knowing which one is which in a photo, and I've come across that a lot. So when I say have people in your photo, I don't mean giant groups of people where you can't discern who's who, but the most important thing is the order in which you present the photos if you have other people in them. So your first photo should be you alone. That's 100%. Like, if I see a guy on a dating app that even has just one other person in his first picture, even if he looks like my type, for the most part, I'll swipe left, because I think this guy isn't smart enough to know that we need to know which one he is from the get-go. He's just, to me, that's dense. Like, he's dense. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I swipe left. So yeah, you always want to start out your first photo as you. Second photo can also be you. So by the third photo, we're like, okay, we've got a gist of which one he is. And so hopefully your friends aren't twins of you, so that it's clear. But if you have one other person in there, or two other people, or a family member, then that's okay. So we're seeing who you're with, again, not in this giant group setting. We're just seeing the quality of someone that you would hang out with. So that's how to solve that issue. And so I usually say 2 to 3 photos of you with someone. And then, because most sites generally, most apps like, Hinge and Bumble allow 6 photos. Tinder allows 9. Other sites, like, if you're on Match.com, they allow, I think, like 9 plus. Like, there's way too many. I never recommend going above 7, because you kind of lose the mystery. It's like, we want something left to the imagination, and there's not like the highest chances that you're going to have 9 photos of yourself that are just amazing, breathtaking photos, so leave out the ones that are excess, that might bring you down a bit. I'll see photos of guys where I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great photo. That's a great photo. And then they put too many in. And then by like their last photo, I was like, oh, now I'm going to swipe left. That was a horrible photo. Like, it was a different person in all the other photos. Yeah. And now this last one killed it. So you always want to start off strong. So you want to start off with a photo of yourself, obviously, a really good one. And then you want to end with a really good one. So when she's swiping through, it's like the ending of a movie being a killer ending. You're like, okay, the middle maybe got a little bit slow, but the end and the begin, I was really grabbed at the beginning, and then that made me swipe through. So if some of your photos you think maybe aren't as great, you want to put maybe in the middle. And then the last photo, you want to end with a bang where she's like, oh, yeah, okay, now I'm going to swipe right. Rather than making her question right at that last second
Right.
whether she should swipe right or not.
I love the Chris Voss line. The last impression is the lasting impression. So you always
Exactly.
want to end on, or the George Costanza, end on a high note and just be gone.
Yep. Yep.